I was wondering, what is your earliest memory of realizing that music was something that you wanted to pursue?
Earliest memory would probably be just as a very young kid. My mom and my uncles were like really big into like 80s metal and like the even like the Motley Crues and whatnot and all the early Metallica stuff. And my mom was 19 when she had me, so in '83. So I was coming right up into the thick of '80s thrash and '80s metal. And like I said, I was just everybody, that influenced me as far as my family, but they were all listening to that at that time. So like I could remember listening to that stuff with my parents and my uncles and stuff. And at one point somewhere along the way, I got a hold of a pair of drumsticks, or and that was it. It's like I was beating on everything. My mom had an ottoman I used to play on all the time as a kid, and used to line up grandma's pots and pans and stuff at the kitchen at her house. And it wasn't probably until I got till grade school when I had an opportunity to play in the school band and went after drums. Wanted to do drums. Well, the band director stuck me on trombone, and I didn't make it very long on that. I was like totally just like not into it, and like there was no way I was going to do it. And I don't remember what, but mom and I came up with some BS, that, and then she played along with me too, and we went to the band director and got her to help him help her talk me into putting me on drums. So yeah, so started playing drums, and then went through that at all the way through high school, playing school bands, stuff like that. Um, my dad had some friends when I was a young teenager that played. They played classic rock stuff, and I remember him hooking me up with them. Shit, I couldn't have probably been more than 13, 14 years old, learning all these classic rock songs that I'd never heard at that time because I was so into like the thrash metal and stuff. I mean, I want to say I was listening to Pantera and just real, the heavy stuff at that point. And but it's like these guys didn't know any of that, and this was my first chance to really play live music with some actual musicians. So at that point I was really open minded to like just it's all right. Well, let me figure out some of these songs. And that kind of took me, really opened things up for me in terms of my musical journey, I guess you would say. Um, yeah, it's
So what was your
been a hell of a ride.
what were your top two favorite bands growing up, would you say?
Oh, so like when I was a really young kid, my top favorite was definitely Metallica. That Ride the Lightning album, I want to say, is the one that I remember being the most prominent around the time when I can remember, that far back. Um, that album and the Motley Crue Shout at the Devil album, like those were my two biggest ones. And like I said, my mom had a brother that he was the biggest metalhead out of the whole group, and he had the posters all over his wall from all the magazines of all the bands and stuff. And I could remember like sitting on his bed and him like telling me like who all these guys were and stuff. And it was just I was just so into it. And it's like I knew that I wanted to do that. It's like way back when. And yeah, through high school I tried starting up little bands, stuff like that. I really wanted to do my own music, write my own stuff, and and heavy stuff. And so did all of that through high school. Kind of got into a band at one point where we actually we opened up for some local older guys in our area. I was still a junior in high school, I think. That band, we didn't really do many more shows than that one. Um, I ended up getting with another band around the New Orleans area at the time called Trauma. They kind of recruited me. Guitar player found me. Again, I was still probably in high school at that time, maybe a senior or so, and played some shows around New Orleans with them. There was a really hot spot in the New Orleans Metairie Fat City area called Zeppelin's. I could remember, getting in the shows over there before I was even old enough to, and actually played a show there. I've got pictures somewhere my mom took back in the day. I was like 16 or 17 or something, on stage at this place, not even old enough to be in, playing original music, with a metal band. And I guess that ended up evolving into live production. is kind of where that took me, because I wanted to be involved in music in every angle that I could, including work. So I ended up eventually getting into live production through a good friend of mine, my mom's, my uncle's, who had his own production company. And yeah, started doing shows with those guys, local bands, local cover bands, just doing production, loading in, setting up PAs, lighting systems, running the lights. Um, did that, up until about 2007, when that same guy that got me started in that Norris Como, he came to me. He was doing monitors for Down at that time, and he had worked with Superjoint, and he had known Phil Anselmo, through back when he was doing Razor White, which was one of his first, early bands before he got in with Pantera. So that history kind of goes all the way back to that. Well, Norris calls me up. He knew that I was right at the right age, 2007 or so. I was, little over 21. I was in my early 20s. I'd been doing production for a while. I was still a, very much active drummer. So he knew I could drum tech, and then he also knew that I knew lights, because I was doing lighting for his company. So he got me out on the Down gig in 2007. That was like right when they were finishing up their third album. We were going out with Megadeth and Heaven and Hell to do a Canadian run. That was Heaven and Hell's very first concert to getting back together. Dio with the Black Sabbath guys, and yeah, he got me into that gig, and then bam, that was it. It blew the door open for me in the production touring world. And I was doing pretty much everything with Phil, all of his projects, lighting wise, up until 2010. I kind of took a break from touring, landed an office job, whatever. That didn't quite pan out. Might have made it about 4 years or so into that, and then I found myself touring again. But this time I was back but doing audio instead of lighting. Hooked up with Phil again. He was just putting the Superjoint stuff back together. Went out doing monitors for him with Superjoint, and then yeah, rode that for a little while, and then it evolved into the Illegals. Actually, well, I take that back. I finished up Superjoint with him as his front of house guy, and then that merged into the Illegals as his front of house guy with the Illegals, and that right up until COVID, 2020. We were in last tour was Japan. We went to Japan in right at the end of January, beginning of February 2020, like as everybody was starting to lock stuff down. We're
That
going
would
into
have been
Japan.
wild.
Yeah, we went to Japan for 2 weeks. Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. It was like a really like weird feeling, like what's gonna happen. Like nobody knew what was coming, at that point. And it was, and yeah, haven't toured professionally since. Just because we were down for so long, and it was like I had to make some changes, professionally, get some different
Yeah.
streams of income coming in, and so I gave myself a little bit more time to focus on my own music,
Yeah.
which I had still been in a band up until about a different band up until beginning of 2024 called Southern Whiskey Rebellion. Um, those guys, I'd been with them since about 2008. Did one album with them. Hadn't really been active since about 2015 or so. Um, but that was totally different music than what I'm doing now with this Smoke Charmer stuff.
Yeah. How did you guys' path align together for you and the guys in Smoke Charmer to create this?
So Steven Taylor is the one that actually brought me into this. He's Smoke Charmer. All this music is his brainchild for the most part. I knew him through working with Anselmo. He was playing bass for Superjoint when I started working with Superjoint, and Steve and I just kind of hit it off. He was originally out from New Orleans way too, and we got along really well. Hung out a lot, talked music a lot. Never really had a chance to play because he's on tour as a playing musician, and I'm on tour as a working tour guy. Um, but we went through a bunch of tours together. I mean, 4 or 5 years of touring together. But like I said, in those two different dynamics, and I was on Facebook or something one day, like last year. I guess, yeah, it would have been about March of 24. And he had just, he had made a post something like, man, you got any drummers around here, want to jam? And I'd been itching, and I just, it was like, yeah, like I texted him, I was like, dude, what's going on, man? It was like, why haven't we jammed yet? And it was like, you want to? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I packed up a drum kit and, drove out to his house, in Houston area. And here we are now. It's, Raul, Steve had already known Raul, and then, Michael, I think Steve, same thing. Steve kind of met him on Facebook, or I want to say, or something like that. One of the social media sites, just saying he was looking for a singer, and sent the guy some stuff, and I mean, it was an instant chemistry.
Mhm.
It's like Michael just like totally connects with the songs, um, with his melodies and his lyrics and whatnot, and it's like when we get together in the jam room, it feels so natural, that it's kind of, it's a good breath of fresh air for all of us, really, in terms of not really doing anything musically as in the past few years of our lives.
Hmm. It's cool that you guys kind of all got together, because I feel like you're gonna do really big with this.
Yeah, I mean, we feel really good about the songs. I think we have some good stuff. Everybody we play it for gives really good, reactions and responses to it. Um, yeah, we're just doing our thing, having fun, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully something comes out of it. Right person hears it and picks us up and takes us out on a tour. Doing a support run for somebody. We don't care. We'll pack up and go. Open for anybody.
And it's cool, like you have so much like knowledge in both aspects of the music industry that you put
Yeah,
all of that together,
yeah. I've been around a lot of different sides of it for a long time now, personally, and so is Steve. And I mean, and Raul too, for that matter, and so is Michael. Michael's done some touring with other stuff too.
Do you have any crazy stories that like really stick out to you that's happened throughout all the years of like being on tour and stuff?
Uh, if I really sat down and thought about it, I could probably cherry pick some really good ones, just because I've been around to so many different places, with Phil and all of his projects. Supporting a lot of different really big bands, met a lot of really cool people on the way. Um, uh, the really crazy stories, usually come into play when you're dealing with like the foreign countries and whatnot, just because it's a whole different experience than what you're used to dealing with, in the U.S. There's been all kinds of crazy, customs hold up issues, that kept us from, making shows on time. Uh, you know, customs harassment issues, just because they'll target certain people that look a certain way, in these other countries, and it's like, oh man, it's like, things just get hairy. Travel's always crazy, especially in like Australia and South America. It's a lot of airlines and hopping around and hauling, all kinds of pieces of luggage in and out of airports.
Mm.
uh, yeah, the glamour of it, kind of goes out the window once you've lived all of that stuff.
Mm. What is what are you looking forward to most about creating with Smoke Charmer?
So far, like I've just looked forward to this outside of the box of normal, of what you would quote unquote call metal,
Mm.
music that we've really been kind of like vibing with. I dare to say a lot of almost like progressive feeling, things, and alternative rock, type things. There's just so many different vibes going on that I I don't think we'll ever be able to be put into like one singular box in terms of like what we are, as far as a musical genre goes. Yeah, we'll probably always be lumped in as rock at our core, but there's just so much going on there that you just really never know what we're going to do next. And a lot of people are going to see that with this new song that we have coming out tomorrow too. It's going to really, like, Steve and I were talking about it earlier. A lot of people are going to be like, what are these guys doing? Like where are they going with all of this? Because it's like I said, you won't be able to put it into one box for sure.
Yeah, that's a little mystery.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like about it, because it's like, we can do whatever we want, it's we're having fun, and and I think no matter what we do, I think it's still going to be pretty well accepted just because of the way we're going about doing it, and the feelings and vibes that we're pulling out of this stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely filled with good energy and everything.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, a lot of good energy going into this, you know. So we're hoping for the same coming out.
Right. So, what would you say your personal definition of success is, and what would it mean to you?
My personal definition of success is basically y- putting your mind to trying to accomplish something, you know, and just basically going after that, you know, until you accomplish it. I mean, whether it be, you know, amassing a certain amount of money, or you know, writing a certain kind of song, you know. I mean, success can be measured in, you know, so many different ways. A lot of people think of it as, you know, how much money you've made in your life, but we all know that that's not always the case. When you look at what people have to show for it in the end. Um, for me, I would have to say success would be, I would measure my personal level of success by how far I guess I could go musically with my life, because it's really all I've ever wanted to do since I was a kid, you know. So it's and I've, no matter what, I always find myself coming right back into it, even if there's moments in my life where other things pull me away from it. You know, music just has a way of you drawing you right back in.
Mhm. For sure.
Yep.
So, any valuable advice that you would give to anybody that wants to do anything in the music industry, like to make their way into a musician or like, tech wise?
Do it, do it for the right reasons. Don't just do it because you know, you see these other musicians on TV, and it's like the whole music industry has become like this, you know, who can be the most outlandish, and you know, who can, you know, generate the most buzz on the internet, and it's like, I don't know, it's like a lot of like the songs coming out now, it's there's so much stuff that just seems like regurgitated, and just not natural art. You know, it's just people like chasing the next hit single rather than like, and you know, really like coming together, you know, and putting their artistic vision, you know, into a work, and having it, you know, just end up being what it naturally is as a hit song, if it is going to be one, you know. I mean, if it's got a natural hook and whatnot, and you know, but it's, that's the main thing for me, is like, do it for the right reasons. Don't just do it because you're chasing fame, you know, because that's what you're going to end up creating in the process is, you know, it's just going to just get lost in all of the other, you know, noise that's out there.
Mhm.
um the whole like home production thing has been kind of like a double-edged sword, you know, for that reason, because it's like there's yeah, you got a lot of people that now can, you know, they could do their own music and all at home, but should they be? I don't know. Some might not, you
Yeah.
know, arguably. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is that if you, you know, and if you are doing it for the right reasons, just never give up. Just do it, you know, just do it every day, live, eat, sleep, breathe it, you know. That's who you are. It's not just what you do, it's who you are, you know. At least that's what, you know, music is for me.
I think that's really a good answer for sure.
Thank you.
So is there anything that you want to share with us today?
No, we like I said, we're working on all kind of things, show related, trying to get some shows booked. We've got some cool things that we're, one for sure lined up for September in Texas area, Dallas. I think we can't announce anything yet, but working on some things there. Working on some other shows for hopefully maybe April, May, um, maybe even June, but haven't really firmed up anything yet. It's all coming around schedules. You know, Michael lives out on the West Coast, so, and then I'm out in Louisiana. Steve and Raul are in Texas, so we got a little bit of distance between us, but we communicate daily, like almost all day long. We got group chats going all the time, back and forth, just throwing stuff around, and you know, always in touch with each other, and we're always talking, and you know, working on getting together at the end of this month there to finish writing up some new stuff. We've got some really cool new songs that we've been working on that we haven't recorded yet. Um, we've released these 2 singles so far. We've got the third's coming out tomorrow on St. Patty's Day. It's called No Martyrs. Like I said, it's totally different from anything y'all have heard so far. Um, and then we're gonna be doing at least a single a month for the next 5 months after this, for sure. While we're working on getting newer stuff recorded and ready to release. So we've got so many ideas and things that we're going around, and I think take it's ridiculous. Steve's got a mountain of material of songs that he's been having for a long time. Stuff that he's even toying around with redoing. That he's previously released with other stuff. So we shall see. We've got a lot of fun ahead of us, though. That's for sure.
The most important part is having fun together.
Yeah, we
That's what
do.
makes it, puts the good energy into it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we have fun whether we're jamming together or we're just chatting it up with each other. It's like, yeah, the chemistry's there. We can feel it. So we're excited. Excited to show everybody what we're creating.
I'm excited for you guys. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
No problem. Thanks for doing this.